Alright, hey guys, welcome back. The next video we're going to be covering rubber track sizes. And you've probably seen them stamped on the inside of your track, or you've been looking online, or you've been looking in a manual, and generally the same, right? But sometimes there's some nuances between manufacturers. So for CTL machines, for example, you're generally looking at the first number is the width of the track in millimeters.
Correct.
So let's say a Kubota 95 runs a 450 wide track. The next number will be the pitch in millimeters, so 86, and that's the distance between the center of a link to the next.
Correct.
And the last number, 58. 450 by 86 by 58, that's the total number of links in the track. Right?
Correct, yeah.
And a lot of people still kind of get confused. What is, track pitch? I like to think of it too as maybe not as accurate, but the tip of the sprocket to the next, that's all we're really talking about there, right?
Yeah, and it gets a lot more technical when you're talking about like where the pitch is actually considered, but for identification purposes, if somebody doesn't know, as long as they measure from same point to same point, from one link to the next, you're measuring same point to same point, you're going to get the general pitch measurement that you're working, and that has to line up with the sprocket.
Right.
And so we can generally, if you come down 1/8 of an inch or so, or 1/4 inch on a sprocket tooth and measure to that same point on the next tooth, you're going to get the pitch.
And you're going to be close. So it's not like there's multiple ones that are really close together. You're either going to have 86 or maybe on some of the older Takuchi machines 100. So it's not like it'd be 90 or something confusing. And then it's pretty straightforward for CTL machines. MTL machines, I do everything in inches, so you might be like a 15.4 or 42 on a 257 cat where it's 15 inches wide, 4-inch pitch, and 42 links in the track.
Yeah.
Some websites, especially, it gets a little weird because 4 inches is 101.6 millimeters on that pitch. So some guys will have it in metric, measuring the track in millimeters, but it's all relatively the same kind of process.
Right.
Whereas, mini excavators start to get a little bit different because we're going to start noticing some more letters.
Yeah.
But still the same, maybe a 300 millimeter wide track with a 52.5 millimeter pitch, and then, whatever length, 74 or something.
Right.
But
yeah. So it's pretty straightforward. What throws a lot of people is just going to the metric system. So, a 320 wide track is basically 13 inch. So a lot of times we'll just ask customers, because on these CTL machines they'll take the same pitch, same number of links, but a different width. So SVL 75 Kubota, you can run a 13 inch, or you can run a 16 inch, which is 400 millimeter wide. So a lot of times we'll have to ask customers, okay, what width track are you running? Everything else is the same, it's just the width, and we can play with that.
Exactly. Is there anything else that you think might be common when guys are asking about track sizes? I know a lot of people call up, and SVL 75 is a good example where they're running the narrow 320 millimeter wide track, and they think, oh, I need to change my undercarriage, but that's not the case if the machine is designed to accept a couple of widths.
Correct.
Or maybe even a Bobcat T650, you can run a 450 wide all the way down to a 320 if you really want to. So it's more of a thing where the machine can either just run that size track or not. It's not something where we're swapping out an undercarriage.
Yeah, you're not having to do anything on an undercarriage swap out at all. The only thing that I get very cautious about is if you have a larger horsepower machine running an 18 inch and then somebody wants more traction, so they drop all the way down to a 13 inch. That concerns me. Because you got a 100 horsepower machine running a 13 inch wide track. What a lot of people don't think about is the number of cables that are inside that track, whereas a 18 inch wide track has a wider series of cables on each side of the link, and then you drop down, you're running a certain horsepower, you're running a certain torque factor. That 13 inch track may not be strong enough to handle that. So they'll get their more traction, but they're probably not going to get the life that they would normally get, and they're probably going to suffer a catastrophic failure if they go too narrow on the track. So that's where I'm okay to drop down to a 16 inch, but going down to a 13, I start getting concerned.
That's totally fair. Outside of that, I can't really think of anything else that we get in the office too much. But I think people just get kind of nervous with the track sizes. It seems really confusing, but really pretty straightforward. It's always pretty much the same thing. But
Mm-hmm.
But that's a nice short video on track sizes. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the page, and we'll be back with the next round.